Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Courtney, Cronin up here at Hallis. We're fresh off of press conferences. We got to hear from Ben Johnson earlier and got to see practice. And we got some updates on Luther Burden that I think the fans are going to want to hear. So hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. How you feeling today, Courtney? Nice day for practice.
It was not too hot, which I don't know if they did the early morning sessions by design. I mean, I think it's funny when Mike Tomlin talks about practicing in the afternoon because it wasn't hot enough when they did it in the morning. I guess the Bears aren't taking that same approach, but it was a nice day out there, and the fans get to come out tomorrow, so that should probably add a little bit more juice to the overall feel of being out there early in the morning.
There's a ton of excitement. I've got fans tweeting at me, just champing at the bit to get in here. So it's going to be a good day. I think it's supposed to be pretty much just like the day tomorrow. So it'll be a good day for the fans to come out. We do want to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, so they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas-style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field, exit 6 right off of I-80. 94. All right, let's start with the housekeeping stuff here, Courtney. We got an update from the head coach, an actual update on Luther Burden. Seems like, I guess the designation they're going with is day-to-day while dealing with some soft tissue, maybe some hamstring issues.
Yeah, so it's a hamstring injury. He sustained it on May 20th, which was the first day of OTAs. So that's the reason that we didn't see him out there for anything in the spring. OTAs, mandatory minicamp, the final OTA. And you think about that, May 20th was 2 months ago. Yeah. So it sounds like it was a pretty significant injury. Soft tissue injuries, we know everybody takes different timelines on how long it takes to recover, but it's your hamstring. So I'm sure they wanted to be cautious with it. But even Ben Johnson said they expected him back by now. It's just taking longer than they had anticipated, which is never a good sign for any player, but specifically when you're a rookie. He's missed a lot of valuable on-field reps. You can only do so much when he's in the classroom element and learning with the rest of the receivers and the emphasis that Antoine Randall is putting on him about the mental part of the game. But until he gets on the field, and undoubtedly when he does, he's going to be in a ramp-up period so they can curb any risk of re-injury. It's probably going to take him a while to get up to speed, considering he has not built the chemistry with Caleb Williams, maybe in walkthrough periods. I know Ben had talked about working with the quarterbacks off to the side. That's not something that we see, but it must be happening at other points of the day. I just think that it's not a great foot to start out on if you are this receiver, knowing that you have a role that you can carve out for yourself. The quicker you can get out there and do that, the better. But it's got to be disappointing for this coaching staff, knowing that they really wanted and were excited about an explosive weapon that they just can't use right now.
And it's kind of that way with both of the guys, right? Colston's out there doing some of the individual things, but he's not really participating in the team.
At least he's out there, though. It's in a ramp up.
There. Luther Burden hasn't been out there for any of it. Are we at the point of concern at this point? I mean, it's day 2 of training camp. I don't know if you can really be concerned about anything at this point, but like you said, he's missed a ton of time previously, and now as we get here, it's kind of, you're going to be thrown into the fire. That's the only way you're going to catch up here.
I don't see how you can't be concerned about it. You know what I mean? Like, they say it's day-to-day, and Ben Johnson says he's hopeful that it'll be a few more days before Burden gets back out there. Is that the coaching staff saying that through the media to put pressure on the receiver to get out there to maybe like ramp it up a little bit? Or is it truly what he thinks will happen? Because we've heard this before, different coaching staff, but when day-to-day becomes week-to-week, that's what you want to guard against.
It was a guarantee in the last
and I'm sure Bears fans hear that and they're probably triggered thinking, oh no, this could be worse than it is. They're not expressing any sort of long-term concern here. And the messaging, while it remained consistent that he will be on the field at the start of training camp in June, it's not like Ben Johnson's going out there and saying, I don't know now, timeline indefinite, like day-to-day for right now until it becomes week-to-week. You take him at face value for what he's saying. But as far as the concern, I don't know how you cannot be concerned when you have a young player who has never played at this level. I know he's a first-team All-SEC selection the last 2 years, a second-team AP All-American. Like, he's talented for sure, but you still got to learn an NFL offense. You still got to build the timing and the chemistry with Caleb Williams. We know about how critical the timing of receivers, timing up their routes to where he's at in his drop, where his footwork is. That's not something you build overnight. So the quicker he gets back out there, the better. And he's got a lot to catch up on that he missed.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the things that I do love about Ben Johnson, at least right now, is taking him at face value is very easy, because as he walked into the press conference, he was like, all right, let me address some bullet points here, kind of getting ahead of some of the questions.
Very proactive
that he knows
on it.
that we're going to ask. We've seen that throughout camp. I think even, just talking about yesterday at camp, talking about throwing out the first team offense in a drill and kind of joking about, I didn't throw him out of practice, guys. It was like, oh, okay.
I don't think anybody said they were thrown out of practice.
I didn't see that from anybody.
They were thrown out of a drill, which meant, okay, guys, you've messed up so many times. Like, we can't waste time. And I think that's what he was getting at as far as like why he did it. They had 90 minutes yesterday, 105 minutes today. So they went 8:45 to 10:10 today. So it progressively gets a little bit longer because you're ramping up to full speed. I think that's the acclimation period for practice is important. Even though some players like Grady Jarrett apparently don't need them because of the way he talks about how he practices. But I appreciated Ben's answer on that, explaining, like there was some pre-snap stuff in the huddle that just wasn't going right. And you have to be on your P's and Q's. So again, when you take it down to like the very small details and he's pointing those things out, I think it's critical importance to make sure that you get that stuff right.
Yeah, 100%. We also saw yesterday Shamar Turner end up getting rolled up on a little bit.
At the end of practice.
Came up a little gimpy. I asked Dennis Allen about it yesterday. He didn't know anything. We heard from Ben Johnson today that is going to be something that's going to hold him out, at least for today. Don't know if he'll be out tomorrow
Ankle
as
injury.
well. That could be something to keep an eye on as well. Any concern there? I mean, we talk about Luther Burden like he's almost a first-round pick, kind of. It's like he's the more important one, but all of them are second-round picks.
Yeah, and when he got up, he was limping, and at first, like I thought he looked kind of winded when he was out there to begin with yesterday. But then he gets up, he goes back behind where the rest of the team's standing, and he's talking to a trainer. And then it was very close to the end of practice in which that happened. So, never great to get hurt on day one, especially when he was running with the threes yesterday. He's a rookie; he's got to earn his keep, but they clearly liked him enough to spend a second-round pick on him. He's going to be getting some run this year. And the healthier you can be in getting out there to do that, improving yourself early versus, got to miss a week, got to miss 10 days, whatever it could be, obviously the better, the sooner you can get out there. But I thought that they've had good attendance outside of those two, plus Zay Frazier, who they said is gone for personal reasons right now. That's why he missed yesterday. And who knows? I mean, maybe it was a personal reason that extended back to the spring because he really wasn't out there much during the spring. And I had to think about that today. But really good attendance otherwise. Like everybody else, unlike other teams around the NFL, they're not dealing with any contract situations. They don't have that many other injuries. And it seems like they're getting the most work that they can in the first 2 days of practice out of their guys.
Yeah, no, I love what we've seen from these guys. And Courtney, again, I know it's only day 2 of training camp. We can't lose our minds here. But it does feel more intense. And that's really been the takeaway, even from the players. And Kevin Byard said it today. He was like, I know you guys can feel it in just watching us. It feels so much more intense. It feels like they're truly out there working to try and improve on, as Ben Johnson said, all those little details that you have to get right. And even today, seeing how, again, more stoppages, more times where it was a tough start.
Yeah.
The 11-11 was a tough start yet again.
And it started with the offensive line, there was no flag. You and I were standing next to each other out there. That we didn't see a flag thrown, but Dan Rochar, the offensive line coach, pulled him back to say something. The next play, they blow it dead.
They blow it dead for a flag, false start.
Yeah, and then there was some huddle procedure stuff that wasn't great that they had to reconvene on that. Yep. So I think it's good that the players are recognizing that, though, because I believe when there was the error in the huddle, whatever it was Caleb who, once the whistle's blown, immediately getting everybody together. And then when they broke the snap, because I think took till the third time for them to get the ball off, they went a lot quicker to the line of scrimmage. They clearly showed a sense of urgency that, maybe those experiences and getting them out of the way now will actually build that sense of urgency in them.
Well, that's the hope. And by the way, just for housekeeping again here, I had to go back through my notes. This was before 11-11. They were going up against no one.
Oh,
this was just the offense standing out there.
You're talking about during install.
Dan Rochar getting onto the offensive line, letting them know, hey, look, you got to get this together. Next play, false start. Next play, they do get the pass off, and the procedure was pretty quickly, but it seemed like there was a little miscommunication between the offensive line there. Caleb visibly frustrated on that next one. 11 on 11, the first drill. Yeah. I would say, and this is the one thing I've said about Ben Johnson, yell as much as you want. I don't care. Get into as many players as you can. I love it as long as it's working. Mm-hmm. It felt like early on that first 11 on 11 period, Caleb Williams was looking a little bit more comfortable. Still had some procedural issues, but I'm not saying it was elite, but it did feel like a little bit of a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think that's what you want to see. Like even Kevin Byard today talked about, we know progress isn't linear, but if it goes like this, if you can see us on the YouTube, like it's a roller coaster sort of like wave, make the dips smaller. So I guess that would probably be, if you ask Caleb about it, I'm sure he'll say, yeah, the dips probably felt a little smaller today. It really wasn't that eventful of a practice in terms of what they got done in 11 on 11. We have not seen them do any 2-minute yet. So maybe that comes tomorrow. Maybe it comes during the weekend or when they go into pads. But I can imagine that yesterday, Ben Johnson, when he had Caleb one-on-one, went over exactly what went wrong in that moment, because this is not somebody who's going to let any details slide. And he said that, and we're seeing it. Like, I like when a coach's words match up with his actions. And you
telling me you don't like we fixed it all on Monday and then they go out there and get
then it looks terrible like a couple days later. I really think he's done a good job of making it clear that this can't happen. Yes. Here's how to not make it happen so you don't see the same mistake twice. Now, in that, there was the team period later, I want to say like after the night, like after 9:30, if I'm just like thinking back in the timeline of everything, when they were on the far field on field 2, where there was a procedural error with the huddle, and then they had to start over from that. It's not to say these issues won't go away. Like there will still probably be some of these for a little bit until they get mistakes ironed out. But even Cole Kmet said yesterday, I'm paraphrasing, that's day one stuff. Yeah. Like you're not going to, in theory, you shouldn't see it happen like that later on. And it should be corrected on day one if it's stuff that they should not be missing.
And Ben said, I think a lot of us look at this and we look at the struggles that happen and we go, oh God, they've taken a step back here. Ben actually said he thought practice yesterday went really well. He thought
for day one, I thought
day one they were in a good spot.
Yeah, and I think that's good. Like if he's recognized in that, and also recognizing that, with Caleb Williams, there's going to be days where there's nothing spectacular that comes out of it. I think today was like that. Yeah. I mean, outside of like a couple, like 1 or 2 throws that DJ Moore was on the receiving end, like it really was a very non-memorable practice, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that he didn't get better though. You know what I mean?
100%. That's my point, right? I think a lot of people are expecting, oh, you got cussed out and now you come back and you're Drew Brees on the other side. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to be, building blocks and slowly getting through this. And I think that's the part that about today, yesterday, I think we had 6 procedural errors. Today there were 4. I know that still sounds like way too many. It's day 2 of camp. That means you're improving. Like those are the things that I think are going to be important for this team. The big story that we said we're going to be watching all camp, the big story that everybody cares about, Cronin got the start at left tackle today. I would expect we see this for a little while here, at least until we start to get some pads on. But we saw Braxton Jones working with the ones. Is there something to be said about this still being Braxton Jones's job?
Well, working with the ones during the install. Yes. So like at walkthrough speed, I think that's important. I think that really does matter, that it's foreshadowing this is your job to lose. Like, because it's, for the next couple of days until Braxton gets up to speed, it's going to be Courtney and Ozzie Trapillo going with the ones one day. The other person goes with the ones the next day. So tomorrow, I imagine it'll be Ozzie back there, unless Braxton's at full speed. And then that's when the competition starts. Yeah. It's when you get a chance to see how are they going to split reps among 3 players at one spot. That's
difficult. I mean, every third day you're getting an opportunity.
And I feel like it can't possibly be every third day. You know what I mean? Like they're going to have to figure out some rotation with guys in the 2s, and maybe you treat those reps like you get some. I don't know. Like I'm just trying to think. Like how do you make that happen so you're not just like trying to do it in a way where everybody's getting the same amount of reps, and then it's like you're taking too long to decide that. Yeah. So I will be very curious about that. But I do think it is notable that during the install periods, which was yesterday and today, that he is with the ones. I feel like it's his job to lose based on that.
The only pushback I would give is that there's only one guy in this building who is a Ben and Ryan Poles guy, and that is Ozzy Trapillo right now. And I don't know, maybe this wasn't a shot. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Sometimes that does happen. But when Ben Johnson says the most important thing I'll be evaluating is how you are in pass rush, we know that's not Braxton Jones'
it's going to be
suit.
Against a bull rush. We know he's said it, like how much he struggled against it. So that, of course, when they have the pads on, that's the best time that they're going to have to evaluate their offensive linemen. I think one thing that I'm really curious to see how it plays out, if you're one of the younger players, Cronin, obviously, Ben Johnson said earlier this offseason, we need to build his confidence because he got thrown into the fire last year, the 100%. Washington game, and then was, hung out to dry more or less doing it against Minnesota late in the year. Yeah. They've got to build his confidence. They've got to build his fundamentals. Same thing with Ozzy Trapillo, even though he seems like a more technically sound player. What happens, though, when you get beat by guys? So, like, if this competition is going to be held for a couple weeks, so they want to see how they do against Miami when they come to town. What happens when you're facing defensive linemen that can actually go closer to full speed at you and you get beat? How do you handle that? How do you respond to something like that? The mental fortitude that it takes to play that position, to come back rep after rep after rep. Like the strongest guy at doing that, not just even from the physical standpoint, but being able to move past moments where things don't go according to plan or they may struggle, and how they bounce back from that. Like, is it a snowball effect? Is it, you're able to bounce back from it and flush that, like, and not think about it again? Like, then that person, if that person does exist among the two younger players, because Braxton Jones has been through this now for 3 years. He's seen some of the best defensive ends in football. So
he's been beat by him too.
Yeah. And I mean, like, he's held his own against some people, but there have definitely been moments where you're like, this is why they drafted left tackle in back-to-back
2 years in a row.
So, but that part's going to be interesting to me, just to see how Ben Johnson wants to handle that part of the competition, because it's very difficult than just the like X's and O's in between the lines part.
If we're being real about this, right? This is not something that is, I feel like last year when we were trying to figure out the O-line and making all these combinations, we got way too deep into camp. And we were like, we still don't know who's starting at right guard.
Yeah, and they were like, they thought like their depth was so great. And it wasn't.
They like, and Ryan Bates was banged up and all those things. Realistically, when do you think we should probably know when this is going to be answered?
So August 8th it's about 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away, yeah.
That's the first joint practice. That's when Miami comes to town. I think you get through the first preseason game after the joint practice. The joint practice is going to mean more than anything else, because they'll probably have about 2 hours of real work, and then that'll determine who plays in that game. I think you'll start to see rotations stick. If it hasn't already happened by then, I think the week after that, so going into the second joint practice, you should know. You should at least have a really good feel for this guy's ahead of that guy.
Especially if we're, going off of Ben's comments on this is a race. He's not trying to slow play this thing. I think that's why you see everybody being so intense. They're trying to get the best out of this team as quickly as possible. And again, a day two, like you said, very uneventful, but good to see some of the improvement that we're seeing from this team. When you look at now, though, kind of the first 2 days, what do you feel like coming out of these days is the storyline or what chapters the practices we've seen right now?
That's a good question, because defense winning the day yesterday. Like, I don't know if I really buy that. I think they had some good moments.
Winning the day is very early to be winning the day.
Yeah, like, a lot of people,
even Kevin Byard talked about how big that first interception was.
And that's where I wanted to go with that, because he said, I don't think I've ever started a training camp practice with an interception, in the tone setter that came from that. Now, it's, will that carry over? We didn't see that today. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, I think that there's been some flash moments where we've seen what position battles are going to be highlighted. We've certainly left tackles at the top of that. We've seen the players that are rotating in on that. We've seen, Caleb Williams working with a lot of different receivers. They've been mixing guys in and out. I mean, there was a time during 7-on-7, or no, it was 11-on-11 when Cole Kmet was with the twos. And that's not to say, oh my God, he's been relegated to the twos. Like, it's Colston Loveland's job, even though I personally believe that Colston Loveland will be tight end 1 in this offense. I still think that it's so early where they're trying to figure out, what do we have here? And Ben Johnson reflecting that by saying, I don't know what kind of run team we're going to be. Like, that's, You know, when he said, like, I don't know if we're going to be a wide zone team, if we're going to be a gap scheme team up front, you think about that and it's like, is that concerning? Because their run game was the identity in Detroit for such a long time. These were so effective with it. Number 6 rushing offense last year. There's a reason that they put up 30 plus points a game and they were number 1 in scoring. Yeah, they've got great receivers and they had a really good quarterback who operated all of that, but it was also David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah. If you're trying to create that here, which with different personnel, then to not know is not concerning. It's just more like, I wonder how long it's going to take for them. I wonder if that's normal that you don't know.
Is there because I don't know, and I there's only one way. I listened to the presser again this morning. Mm-hmm. And when he's asked about DeAndre Swift, it doesn't seem like this is my favorite running back in the world. It kind of was just, he's a hard worker, kind of quiet, keeps to himself, like what he does. He's in the building.
Disappointed from last year. Saying all the right things.
All of the cliches that you would expect to hear from somebody when it's like, that's not really the guy that we're rolling with. Did you get that from when he was talking in the presser, and maybe that's why we don't know what the run game is yet? Or is that just, again, sometimes I read too much into it?
Well, he knows DeAndre Swift. That's the thing. He had this guy in Detroit in the 2022 season, and they moved him because they felt he was expendable. So I think that in its own right is probably going to foreshadow how he feels about him. But I think he's still trying to get to know the personnel here. What are they good at? Today we saw, especially during individual drills, and even when DeAndre Swift got sent out on that route, the deep ball that Caleb overthrew down the sideline, going towards the Walter Payton Center. Remember when we saw him go out on that route in Washington down the home team sideline, the visiting team sideline, and he caught that big pass to put them in position to score a touchdown. Do we see more of that? And even DeAndre's like, well, I don't know. You're going to have to see about it. He didn't want to give away anything. But I am really curious to see how they use these running backs, because there were a lot of drills today early on, pass catching drills for these backs. How does that factor into what the offense is going to do, what it's going to look like? Yeah. So I really don't know how long that's going to take, though. When Ben Johnson says he doesn't know what type of scheme they're going to run up front with the offensive line and all of the things that factor into an effective run game, great offensive line, receivers that are willing to block, running backs that are capable of carrying out your vision, which is to catch the ball and to be rushers too. That's a lot. Different. It's a lot, but he's still getting, you said this before the show, we've never seen, at least when we've been covering the team, we have not seen an offensive coach have to build something here outside of the OC, but you're building everything here as the play caller and the head coach if you're Ben Johnson.
And that's what I was going to say, right? Building a system. I think that's the thing, right? Ben Johnson is truly coming in, and it is not the Andy Reid system. It is not the West Coast system or whatever, all we've seen OCs come in that are using someone else's system.
Yeah, it's his.
Ben Johnson is building his system again based on the personnel that he has. And when he talks about, not having the run game in place as of yet, I do wonder if it's it's tough to have the run game in place when I don't know if this guy's going to be my lead running back. Is it going to be Kyle Monangai, who had another nice play today, a really good
nice long run
catch today, and a really nice run today as well? You're seeing Roschon Johnson's making a case. Remember, when he was drafted, Ryan Poles talked about he's going to be a pillar of this team moving forward. Roschon Johnson's had a really nice first 2 days, really nice catch from Tyson Bagent and a really good run today. This does feel like a true competition in that running back room.
And it needs to be.
Job.
It needs to be because I don't think there's anybody in there that's head and shoulders above everybody else. And when I asked Swift about what do you like about Monangai, because that was I tweeted something and everybody's jumping on me about it. I'm like, hey, maybe he and Ian Wheeler can have a race or something. And well, he's 4'6" and Ian Wheeler's in the 4'4s, 4'5s. I'm like, Monangai plays faster than he tests.
100%.
It's obvious when you watch him. And I was really impressed by the run that he had at the end of camp today when he had the juke move. And then
the cutback was crazy.
It was cool. It was cool to see. And I think that stood out to his teammates because Swift said something along the lines of, there's not anything he sees from him that he's doing wrong. Not any one part of his game that's missing. And very clearly, even though he's a 7th round pick, I feel like he's got a good shot to have a role in this room. And that's not something that you say about every 7th round running back that they can bring in.
I also think he's not your average 7th round running back. I get it. He probably fell to the 7th round because of stature.
Sure.
Although I am shocked with a guy like Ashton Genty, who's taken above him, literally being the same size and weight. But it is funny to me because we talk about him as 7th round pick, not as back-to-back 1,200-yard rusher, leading in the Big Ten, which is not a Joe Schmo division that college football is starting to put together in, right? Like, he's going up against the Ohio States and having good games. He's going up against Michigan and having good games. Like, those are the things to me where it's like, almost because he's got 7th round pick next to his name. And I think I saw an interview with his head coach from Rutgers where he said,
Greg Schiano.
You're Greg Schiano, where he was like, yeah, like that's been his entire life. Everyone's looked at him and gone, oh, he's the other guy. Like he's really good, but like he's the other guy. He doesn't look like the other guy out here, Courtney. He looks like he's pretty well established in the mix here.
I think he's holding his own. Yeah. Like that's important. And like when you watch, I wouldn't take any of it's look
against the 2s and the 3s. Let's be fair.
For sure. Yeah. And also, I mean, like just seeing what the rep counts are in individuals and who goes where. It's Swift, it's Roschon Johnson, it's Travis Homer. So seniority, and then it's Monangai. Yep. And like, there's obviously
and Caleb's always the one-handed on the ball. I'm just saying
that has happened. And like, I think they're just trying to give him a shot to prove like whatever he can do. And that just because you're a 7th rounder does not mean that you don't have a really good chance to make the roster. And I'm curious to see like how if Roschon continues to get more run, do we see a switch?
Good.
Like, do we see a switch where he ends up as the lead rusher in certain games? And obviously, I know it seems far right now, but you think about training camp or preseason games, who's getting the run?
3 weeks. Right?
Yeah, it's not that long, but like,
it's not that far.
Remember how much Roschon Johnson played in those games last year? I'm not saying DeAndre Swift will be playing in those games, or maybe even both of them won't be, but I feel like if there's like a switch there in terms of who's playing, who's not, like who's up effectively, that would be might be pretty telling about like what they think their run game personnel is like.
If I'm not mistaken, and last preseason was a long time ago and a lot of losses ago. Didn't we only really see one play of DeAndre Swift? Wasn't it like a screen pass over the middle that he took
against Buffalo? Yeah, it's against Buffalo.
He took it to the house.
It was on the right side. It was on the near side of the field.
Yes. I don't think we really saw much.
That was the one series they were in for, and Caleb could have hit. How do I remember this? It was like he was going to hit Rome Odunze, but Rome didn't jump high. Like didn't time his jump or whatever. Yeah, I think that was it. Either that or I'm conflating that with the Cincinnati game because that also happened. Well, no, Rome landed out of bounds in the Cincinnati games. Yeah, I don't know why I'm breaking down 2024 preseason stuff. That's just where my brain is. But no, I mean, you're right. You didn't see much of him in the preseason. You saw a lot of Roschon, though.
Saw a lot of Roschon. We saw a lot of
Ian Wheeler. That's when he got hurt
last season. Like there were some really solid pieces that came out of that. Ian Wheeler feels like he's falling a little bit behind.
He was struggling today to catch a couple passes during individuals, and just knowing the role that Jahmyr Gibbs had in this offense and Monty, like that's required if you're playing running back.
You got to be able to catch the ball. And I thought the fact that Swift pointed that out was actually kind of big today too, because a lot of people don't know that about Monangai if you're not out here to see him, because he didn't get the ball thrown to them because his quarterback was just not very good at throwing the ball in college.
He was a workhorse back for them. And he does have a lot of wear and tear on him. Like he has a lot of carries, led the Big Ten in carries a year ago. So that workload, I mean, we're not seeing any sort of like, I mean, he's young, but like, I guess I don't think they'd be worried about anything like that. He has a lot of experience under his belt.
Any other housekeeping things you want to hit on today on the pod that we saw out there or that we saw yesterday?
One thing I noticed, and this is not like, it's neither here nor there now, but like Jaquan Brisker, remember he had the concussion and we talked to him a little bit in June, it was during minicamp, and he's not wearing the Guardian cap. Kevin Byard is, and Kevin Byard talked about it today, just with not specific to that, but just about playing with Jaquan and the energy he brings, because you can hear him. He's so excited to be out there. He lets out a big scream every day when he gets out on the field for team drills, and he's the energy guy. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting observation. I'm curious when we hear from him, like his decision to not wear a Guardian cap. Not that it's, not that it can prevent. I mean, it can only prevent so much, but I just think that that's something to keep an eye on.
I think how Byard said it today really kind of emphasized that, almost like, and I don't know this, right? We haven't seen him out on the field with or without the Guardian cap, but Tim saying he's got to play his way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything about how he's playing. I wouldn't change anything about how he goes about his business. We know he's a hit stick player.
Yeah.
Jaquan Brisker is going to be who Jaquan Brisker is. He's not going to all of a sudden become, only a cover safety back there. He's going to be a guy that's going to lay hits. And I do wonder if that kind of plays into the decision not to wear the cap, because hey, look, if I get concussed, I get concussed, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to play my way.
Yeah, it's a personal decision, obviously. 100%. Like, guys don't have to wear them. Offensive linemen wear them.
Roshan is wearing it, I believe.
He's worn it for a while because remember he had a concussion that he had to deal with. But like Byard is wearing it. Brisker's not. There's some other receivers who aren't wearing it. You have the option to. But I think when he even said today, he's like, I'm going to be big bro to you. Like if I see any symptoms, I'm reporting them immediately with you. Like knock on wood, he stays healthy for himself and for the sake of like his career and his longevity, like as a human. But I just think it's something that's worth noting considering all that he went through the last couple of years with the concussions, and especially last year.
Hopefully he's able to stay healthy this year. I love Jaquan Brisker on this team. Like, he's probably one of my favorite players on this team. But like I said, coming into the season, as teams start to change, as Ben Johnson gets more ingratiated and indoctrinated here, your favorite Bear may not be your favorite Bear for very long, because that's how the turnover comes usually when regimes change. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, the intensity of what these meetings are like, what Byard said today, that I guess it's a message between Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen. Don't be afraid to compete no matter the position.
Yeah.
Like, push each other. Like, this is, and not to say like you're not here to be friends or make friends or anything like that, but this is a business and you've got to push each other. You've got to have the team camaraderie and all of that. But there is definitely an emphasis here that is different than years past, where I thought about this on the way in, and it's not half baked, but because like obviously Matt Eberflus had a lot of flaws with his coaching style, and also his in-game coaching management was awful, but maybe he would have been a better coach for an older team, a veteran-led team where where guys didn't need to be disciplined as much, where guys didn't need coaches on them as much.
Already.
I've covered coaches like that. Mike Zimmer was like that with guys towards the end of his time in Minnesota, where he knew his vets. He was comfortable kind of laying off on them on certain things, and that doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson's showing that from the very get-go, like, I am going to break it down to the micro level on these details, and you guys need to understand why it's important. Like, showing guys the why behind it, like when he was telling us today about some of the like huddle issues. You gotta, if I keep messing up and doing something the wrong way, and I'm not learning why I'm doing something wrong, or you're not telling me, then I'm going to keep making the same mistake. So once training camp, once we're in a week from now, like when we have like a bigger body of work to work with here and to evaluate from, I think that's going to tell you the story of how the coaching is working, or whether it's not.
I love what we saw yesterday, and I talked about this yesterday with Waddle, it wasn't just we're yanking the first team offense out, get off of my field. It was, we got to keep this thing moving along. You're out.
Important reps for other players. And then when
they were in individuals on the other side of the field, you see Ben talking to Caleb. I would assume he's telling him, hey, you got to – how do you explain it today? He basically said that, they weren't ready. He didn't like how they were leaving the huddle.
Yeah.
He didn't like how they left the huddle. They weren't prepared leaving the huddle. You're getting him. It's not just, hey, figure that out. It's, okay, let's go over here. Let's talk about this. Let's see what you're doing wrong and fix that. You're seeing real coaching. And I think that's the one thing that I love having Ben Johnson here and having all the way down. Today was the first time I've heard Dan Rashard yell.
Yeah.
And
he yelled immediately. Like in practice. It was like right away when they were lining up for install.
It truly is anybody can get it kind of mentality here. Caleb Williams, the offensive line that has a ton of veterans on it. Cole Kmet in OTAs, like it is hey, like there is nobody above the law.
No different rules for different people sort of strategy.
And I love that. Let us know how you guys feel in the comments below. We'll be down there talking with you as well. Day 2 in the books. Day 3 tomorrow. Hopefully we see a little bit more improvement. Let's get that down to 2 pre-procedural starts, and Caleb Williams completing a few more passes. As always, for Courtney, Cronin, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love.